Hello, 8th graders. How are you? I made this little sign because I miss you. I hope you all are well. So let's take a look at today, Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Let's take a look at today's assignment. Your learning targets are here. Oh, wait. Before we get into that, I hope that all of you have had a chance to check your Google Classrooms. And I just found this out on Twitter yesterday that Nick Stone did a first chapter Friday. We can do it on Wednesday. But she is reading her first chapter of Dear Justice, which doesn't come out until September. I know that many of us loved so very much Dear Martin, one of my top 10 favorite books ever. I love that book, and so many of you love that book as well. So if you are eagerly anticipating, as much as I am, the sequel to that book, Dear Justice, we could get a sneak peek, and the author, Nick Stone, will read the first chapter to us in this YouTube video right here. So I did post it in Google Classroom. So if you are so inclined and you want to find out what Dear Justice is all about, go ahead and check it out. It might be just a little bit too much because September's still kind of far away. So I'm going to hear that first chapter and know, I can't wait for the whole book. So check that out if you are interested. Okay, now let's get to our assignment. So our learning targets for this week that we have been working on, I can read and comprehend grade level literary nonfiction. That's what you've been working on in Newsella this week. I've posted those articles. You've been choosing which ones you are going to read. When you answer those quiz questions and when you complete the Power Words activity, that's demonstrating that you can comprehend and understand literary nonfiction. The second one, I can determine the central idea of a text. When we were younger, it got a little bit easier because oftentimes the author would the central idea or main idea, as we can call it also, was a lot more obvious. Now, as readers, when we read these more complex texts, it gets a little bit more complicated, and sometimes we have to make some inferences. So we've been working on that. And then today, we're going to work on this learning target here. I can analyze the development of a central idea over the course of the text. And I'm going to model what that looks like for you. So when you get this, it'll say click here to listen to today's video lesson and today's read aloud. I'm going to do a short read aloud so I can model working on practicing these learning targets for you. So your read assignment says, go to Newsella to see your posted assignment. You will choose one of the 3 articles to read and reflect on. Complete the Power Words activity and quiz for the article you select. That's demonstrating that you can do these 2 learning targets. And then this last part right here, determine the central idea of the text and highlight sentences that support the central idea in yellow. You'll do this all in your Google Classroom. Not in your Google Classroom, in Newsella, and Mrs. Ash will be able to see it there. So I'm going to model that for you with this article here. This isn't an article that is assigned to you, but it's on the same topic that we've been working on, showing kindness and how can we bring a little bit of light and joy to the world through just little small actions. But we also have to remember, throw kindness around like confetti, yes, but also sprinkle it all over yourself and learn to be kind to yourself as well. So that's what this article is about. So let's read it together, and I'm going to model determining the central idea and then analyzing the development of that central idea over the course of a text. So our title of the article gives us definitely a clue. What is the central idea of the text? Oftentimes nonfiction titles will give us a clue. So the title, Being Kind to Yourself, is the best way to help achieve your goals. Do you think you need to channel your inner drill sergeant in order to get your homework done or eat your vegetables? If so, think again. It may be more effective to be kind to yourself. Research shows that practicing self-compassion promotes improvements and achievement. It also helps us live healthier, happier lives. And this is my maybe 4th time. Oftentimes you have to read an article or text more than once, and this is like my 4th time reading this. And I've already determined that this is the central idea of the text. And it comes from that first paragraph right there. Practicing self-compassion promotes improvements and achievement and helps us live happier, healthier lives. So as I continue to read, I'm going to think about what are the details that the author includes? What are the little pieces of information that the author includes to develop this central idea that practicing self-compassion helps us make improvements, helps us achieve in our lives, and helps us be happier and healthier? So think about that as we continue to read the article together. Self-compassion is the practice of being kind and supportive to ourselves, rather than mean and self-critical. In recent years, numerous studies have shown that self-compassion bolsters mental and emotional health. Newer research is also finding that it plays a key role in physical health too. So our central idea, practicing self-compassion, promotes improvement and helps us live happier, healthier lives. I feel like this sentence right here helps develop that idea. So I'm going to highlight it in yellow. In recent years, numerous studies have shown that self-compassion bolsters mental and emotional health. I'm going to highlight that in yellow because that definitely supports our main idea. And then I'm going to continue to read. Don't be too critical of yourself. According to self-compassion researcher Kristen Neff, author of Self-Compassion, The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself, there are 3 elements to self-compassion. The first is mindfulness, which is being aware of thoughts, feelings, and experiences. When you practice mindfulness, you experience your thoughts and feelings without judging or obsessing about them. The second is a sense of common humanity, which means recognizing that we are all imperfect and have perfect. Look at how imperfect I am reading that sentence. Let me start again. The second is a sense of common humanity, which means recognizing that we are all imperfect and have personal struggles. The third is self-kindness, which is showing ourselves care and understanding when we come face to face with our mistakes and all too human imperfections. The opposite of self-compassion is emotional reactivity, isolation, and self-judgment, and can also take the form of unhealthy perfectionism. These emotional responses have been linked to depression, stress, and reduced quality of life. A 2017 study published in Health Psychology Open found positive outcomes for people who practice self-compassion. These people tend to handle stress better. Their bodies have less of a stress response when they get into an argument with a loved one or experience a setback at work or school, for example. Chronic stress directly harms health, which is one reason why stress management is an important element in a healthy lifestyle. Constant stress triggers physical responses that include spikes in blood pressure and blood sugar. When we cope well with stress, we are also less likely to reach for unhealthy short-term coping mechanisms. Unhealthy habits like smoking and heavy drinking are often related to feeling stressed out. Constant stress also weakens the immune system. This is the body's self-defense mechanism, which fights off sickness and disease. Self-compassion often gets painted as selfish, lazy, or indulgent, but the truth is quite opposite. People who are caregivers often find it difficult to be as compassionate with themselves as they are toward others. To fully give to and support others, though, we need to give and to support ourselves. Making sustainable changes. Are you a perfectionist? If so, you may fear that if you are too gentle with yourself, you'll fail to perform up to your abilities. Research, though, shows self-compassion leads to making choices that support long-term success and well-being. The changes we make based on self-compassion are more sustainable than changes we make because we feel unacceptable the way we are. Self-compassion allows us to evaluate areas for self-improvement more clearly and pursue changes without being weighed down by self-criticism. This is, I feel right here, I'm going to highlight this sentence in yellow too. Because self-compassion also allows us to evaluate areas for self-improvement more clearly and pursue changes without being weighed down by criticism. When I think about our main central idea, practicing self-compassion promotes improvements and achievement, that definitely supports it right here. When we're able to, when we practice self-compassion, we're able to evaluate the areas where we need to improve and then pursue making those changes without being like, oh, I'm too stupid, I'll never be able to do that. So that definitely is another sentence that supports our central idea. Let's say you do poorly on a geometry test. Self-compassion can help you use that experience to make changes going forward, like seeking out a math tutor. In contrast, self-criticism can paralyze you. It may leave you unavailable to make any adjustments as you fall farther and farther behind in a class. Self-compassion might seem like it would be easy to practice because we all want to be happy. At the same time, though, we also want to avoid danger. In the face of true danger, we usually go into fight, flight, or freeze mode, as it means to escape trouble. However, when the danger has less to do with an external threat than uncomfortable emotions that rise from our own mistakes or failures, our response can be self-criticism, self-isolation, and self-absorption. These responses can get in the way of doing the things that will make us happier and healthier in the long run. Self-compassion helps us view uncomfortable emotions as less of a threat. As a result, we can respond more appropriately and constructively. This sentence right here, again, I'm going to highlight that one in yellow too, because again, why is self-compassion so good for us? We said it helps us promote improvements, achievements, and live happier, healthier lives. This, again, supports that statement. Self-compassion, when we get in an uncomfortable situation, we just get over it. We don't see it as a threat. And as a result, we can respond appropriately and constructively and grow as individuals. So that sentence definitely supports that central idea as well. So how do we cultivate self-compassion? We can start with mindfulness. Unless we pay attention to what is going on around us and inside us, we may be aware of thoughts that play and replay in our heads. We can practice observing our thoughts. Are they compassionate or critical? We can be curious and non-judgmental. Harshly criticizing ourselves is counterproductive, only adding insult to injury. We can remind ourselves that to err is human and to forgive is divine. That includes forgiving ourselves. When you treat yourself as a good friend, you can be candid about what you want to change while remaining respectful, kind, and loving to yourself. Finally, we can show kindness to ourselves in ways that nurture mind, body, and spirit. We can take time to go for a walk, do some yoga, or prepare a nutritious meal. We show respect and care for ourselves when we do activities that bring us joy. They might include reading a novel, playing a musical instrument, or getting together with friends to kick around a soccer ball. Such enjoyable activities strengthen our connection with the people who mean the most to us and strengthen our self-esteem too. With practice, we can learn to treat ourselves with kindness and unconditional love, not tough love. So I thought that article was really interesting. So after thinking about what the central idea is, I went and reread the article, and you can see I highlighted three. There's more, but I highlighted three areas, three sentences that I thought the author analyzed that idea as well. So the first thing the author says to develop this idea that self-compassion promotes improvements and achievement and helps us live happier and healthier lives. The first one, recent studies have shown that self-compassion bolsters mental and emotional health. The second one, self-compassion allows us to evaluate areas for self-improvement more clearly and pursue changes without being weighed down by self-criticism. And the third one, self-compassion helps us view uncomfortable emotions as less of a threat so we can respond appropriately and constructively. So when you're thinking about that and you're reading the article that you choose to read today, you might want to take out a piece of paper or jot down in your notebook right away. What do you think? Use the title as a clue to help you think about what is the central idea of the article. And then look for at least 3 supporting details that the author includes to develop that central idea and jot them down like this. And if you do that, it's really going to help you with this third part of your assignment today. So after you do the reading section, the writing section says complete the Newsella writing activity, which is write a short paragraph that explains the central idea of the article. Use at least 2 details from the article to support your response. You'll do this right in the Newsella site. You don't have to email me anything. You don't have to turn anything in Google Classroom. When you go to your article, there'll be an activities part right here, and the writing piece is going to give you those instructions, and you'll write that paragraph right there. If you feel more comfortable and you want to do it in a Google Doc, that is totally fine. But otherwise, once you do it on here, it'll be turned in and I'll be able to see that. Now that I have this is going to help me definitely write that paragraph. And my paragraph might sound something like this. In the article, being kind to yourself is the best way to help achieve your goals. The author develops the central idea, practicing self-compassion promotes improvements and achievements and helps us live happier, healthier lives. The author develops that article by including these 3 supporting details, and then I'll include the supporting details. In my paragraph, if I did this, it's already pretty much written itself. So that is the last part of the writing activity. For practice, go to iExcel and practice the determine the main idea skill. That's just going to reinforce that you are able to complete these learning targets, achieve these learning targets, and organize information by main idea. So you can get some extra practice there. And for a bonus today, since we are working on kindness, in addition to being kind to yourself, being compassionate to yourself, today's activity, when you finish your work, grab a trash bag and go take a walk in your backyard or in your neighborhood. Pick up any trash that you find along the way and dispose of it properly. Mrs. Ash is going to do this. I'm going to make sure I put some gloves on when I do this. For some of you, if that's not possible, but you still want to brighten somebody else's day, clean something in your house, tidy up your house. I guarantee you, whoever you live with will be so, so, so grateful, and that will bring joy and light and happiness to their day. So clean a closet, do the dishes unexpectedly without having to be asked, take out the trash, do something unexpected that helps somebody else in your home, and then reflect about it. Share some ideas, maybe post a picture down here of what you cleaned up. Mrs. Ash will try to do the same. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow, Thursday. Have a great day.